Hello and welcome to the show. I am Joe Tophat. Fraggle Rock was an amazing show. It had some of the greatest examples of puppetry ever shown. I mean, just look how wonderful they look and how lifelike. Not only was the puppetry impressive, so were the characters and the worlds it showed. Fraggle Rock was able to tell complex stories with moral lessons that never felt like they were preaching. And that's not something easy to do. Yet Fraggle Rock was able to pull it off. Being the amazing show that it is, they had many wonderful episodes, but I decided to focus on 10 of those. It wasn't easy to accomplish that because there were so many good ones to choose. But I was able to pick my top 10 best episodes of Fraggle Rock. Let's begin. Number 10. Wembley and the Mean Genie. The Fraggles are looking for cool stuff to find in the rock, and Wembley happens to find a bottle with a genie inside. Only this genie doesn't grant wishes. Well, it used to, but it doesn't want to anymore. It wants to cause trouble. And trouble does it cause. It pretends to be friends with Wembley, who doesn't really know how to stand up for himself, especially against his new genie friend. Despite the nasty things the genie does, Wembley always shows compassion for him, especially when he traps him back in the bottle. He has no reason to feel sorry for him, but he just couldn't bring himself to leave him in the bottle for all eternity. The reason why I picked this episode is because, 1, Wembley is an awesome character, and 2, it teaches you the importance of standing up for yourself. And at the same time, you can still have compassion towards somebody who is mean to you. Number 9. The Preachification of Convincing John. Have you ever known somebody who loves to fight for a cause and believes in it with all their heart, and yet you know deep down that what they are advocating will cause more harm than good? Well, this is the case in the Preachification of Convincing John. Moki Fraggle starts to feel bad about eating the Doozer constructions because the Doozers worked so hard making them that it just seemed mean to just eat them up. So she takes it upon herself to fight for the rights to let the Doozers build their constructions without the Fraggles eating them. And she enlists the aid of Convincing John, a Fraggle who nobody wants to be around because he can convince you to do anything, even a Gorg to be a Doozer. After she convinces everybody to stop eating the constructions, it becomes pretty crowded in the rock. What makes this episode so great is that it shows somebody, in this case Moki, show compassion and want to fight for the rights of a certain group, in this case the Doozers. The only problem is that she never bothered once to talk to the Doozers and see how they feel about the Fraggles eating their constructions. A great lesson for anybody who wants to get involved in activism. Number 8. The Minstrels. Cantus and his band of minstrels have arrived at Fraggle Rock to perform a medley. Red is placed in charge of starting the medley. But there is only one problem. She needs to start it off with her song. But she doesn't know what her song is. To find out what her song is, Red decides to steal Cantus's magic pipe. Red's attempt backfires on her and the pipe ends up in the Gorg's garden. I love the fact that Candace knew from the start that Red took the pipe and forced her to go get it back, even though she was afraid that the Gorgs would kill her. And he's just like, hey, you put it out there, you get it. This is the first of many appearances of Candace the Minstrel. He is voiced by the man himself, Jim Henson, who also provided the voice of Convincing John. Number 7. A Friend in Need. Sprocket one night gets stuck in the hole where Gobo goes to get the postcard from Uncle Traveling Matt. Although he's afraid of the hairy monster, aka Sprocket, Gobo realizes that if he doesn't get him out, he could die. And rewatching this show, I realized how much character development it has. You see, during the early part of the series, Gobo has a great fear of the hairy monster. But here, it shows him making a connection with Sprocket, and even, dare I say, develop a friendship. You would see this later on as the series progressed. Making a friend with somebody who's different from you is a major theme of Fraggle Rock. Number 6. The Cavern of Lost Dreams. Codapinduza feels like her creativity isn't being appreciated, so she enlists the aid of Gobo to help her find the Cavern of Lost Dreams to get inspired. What is the Cavern of Lost Dreams? Why, it's the place that houses the oldest Doozer construction in existence. Codapin loves the tower, but she finds Krusty and Easter, two very old Doozers left in charge of guarding the tower, to be too stuck in the past. What I find interesting is that from the very first episode, the Doozers are shown not to have sentimental attachment to their constructions. They are made to be eaten. But here, Easter and Krusty take offense to the fact that Gobo took a bite out of the tower. A very different mindset, but isn't that the way of old versus new? Number 5. The Gorg who would be king. When the last leaf of the Nirvana tree falls, Junior Gorg would be king. The show had mentioned several times that one day Junior Gorg would be king, but I never imagined they'd do an episode where that happens. Yet, here it is. Pa Gorg doesn't want to give up the throne, and Junior feels he isn't ready to take over. So he eats the last leaf so as to say it never fell. This causes Junior to shrink down to the size of a Fraggle. He makes friends with Wembley and now has to see the universe in a way he never saw it before. In other words, Junior had some soul-searching to do. Number 4. Sprocket's Big Adventure. Like the Gorg who would be king, this episode involves a character seeing the world in a way he never saw it before. In this case, Sprocket. Duck refuses to believe that anything lives behind the hole, so Sprocket goes to Fraggle Rock to try to find Gobo to prove he exists to Doc. In his search for Gobo, Sprocket runs into the Doozers, the Trash Heap, and the Gorgs. What I like about Sprocket's Big Adventure is, like the Gorg who would be king, a character gets to see that the universe is much bigger than he thought it was. Number 3. Red-Handed and the Invisible Thief. Red becomes obsessed with trying to capture a thief who keeps stealing her radish bars. Her prime suspect is Moki, since she was the only one who wouldn't swear on her Tuggertails trophy that she didn't do it. As usual, Red takes things too far. She even borrow Wembley's radish bars to try to capture the thief. Did you learn nothing from your experience in borrowing Cantus's magic pipe? As for who stole the radish bars, let's just say it wasn't who she thought it was. Number 2. Uncle Matt's discovery. Uncle Matt sees Doc take the paint off of some garden gnomes, which scares him so much that he runs and hides underneath a table. He refuses to admit that he was scared, which causes a rift between him and Gobo. Uncle Matt's discovery shows a side to Uncle Matt that we don't normally get to see. He knows how bad his whimpering looked, and he feels embarrassed by it. He hates being seen as a coward, so he feels the need to lie about it, even though Gobo wants him to admit it. Uncle Matt's fight with his nephew causes him and Gobo a lot of pain, and he starts to lose his love of exploring. Normally, Uncle Matt acts very egocentric and believes himself to be the greatest Fraggle on Earth. But here we see a more vulnerable side. And also, he has to confront the fact that it's okay to feel fear. We all do. As for the thing that Uncle Matt discovers, let's just say that it brings him closer to his nephew Gobo, and it renews his love of exploring. And the number 1 best episode of Fraggle Rock is The River of Life. Oh boy. Where to begin? Well, throughout the show, Sprocket is always trying to convince Doc that the Fraggles exist. Doc's disbelief in the Fraggles' existence never caused any harm until one day he meets a man who wants to pay him $100 grand to dump industrial waste into the limestone caverns. Now, it becomes crucial for Sprocket to convince Doc of their existence. Meanwhile, the Fraggles get sick from the polluted water, Junior's radishes begin to die, and Mom and Pa Gorg suffer from itchy feet as a result of dipping their feet in the polluted water. The River of Life's strength doesn't lie in its environmental message. It's in the fact that Boober, the worrywart of the Fraggles, is the only one who could save the day. Boober has never been a brave Fraggle. He'd rather hide underneath a rock rather than go out on an adventure. Now Boober has to go against his natural instinct. The most powerful moment in this episode is when Boober begs for mercy to the empty workshop. I can't do it justice with these still pictures. All I can say is watch it for yourself. And that is my top 10 best episodes of Fraggle Rock. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments section which episodes you guys loved that didn't make the list. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.